I'm very excited about the next teller, and she's an incredibly creative person. She's a singer-songwriter, head of the band The Seratones, and I can't see her right now, so I'm a little confused. Oh, okay, there she is. Okay, so they have an album coming out in the spring of 2016, and they'll be releasing a vinyl album in August, which is pretty exciting. That's cool. And the best hugger, she said her grandma or her great-grandma, and her grandma particularly because she has this crazy resounding cackle. And when you hug her, it's like a whole physical experience. So she can tell you more about that if she wants to. This is AJ Haynes.
I always forget there are stairs that I should probably use.
Yeah.
Let's move this thing. So I get so for those of you that don't know, since we're talking about race, I'm also half Filipina, and so that's why I'm so damn short. All right. Homage to My Hips by Lucille Clifton. These hips are big hips. They need space to move around in. They don't fit in little petty places. These hips are free hips, and they don't like to be held back. These hips have never been enslaved. They go where they want to go, and they do what they want to do. These hips are mighty hips. These hips are magic hips. I've known them to put a spell on a man and spin him like a top. So about 3 years ago, I had the opportunity to guest teach at Centenary College for their Black Literature seminar. Jeannie Hamming graciously let me take over her class for 2 days, which, I don't know if I would let myself do that, but she did. And that was one of the texts that we covered. When I was given the task of having to cover, what does it mean if I'm covering Black poetry? How is that relevant? How do I make this relevant to a handful of students at a very white liberal arts college? One of which of the students is my drummer. Strange flipping of roles playing there. So I decided to cover Lucille Clifton and paired that with a discussion of the Hottentot Venus. So the Hottentot Venus was Sarah Bartman. She was part of a small African tribe that had this phenomenon of stereotypia. I think I just butchered that. Wherein the buttocks are rather large. And Sarah Bartman spent almost all of her days and nights as a conscious grown woman standing on a platform, having people watch and stare and poke and prod and look at her ass. This is a story about my ass. So Sarah Bartman would stand on a platform and people were just absolutely in awe of her ass, right? She was herself enslaved by that. That's how she made her living. And it's also how she died. After her death, her body wasn't even hers. Her genitalia, skeleton, brain, ass, stood at the Museum of Man in Paris for about 100 years. So bringing that back to, I like being able to juxtapose things. I like chaos, and I like when things clash, and you find the things that make sense in between those. So juxtapose the Venus Hottentot with the Lucille Clifton's Homage to My Hips. Another text that we covered was Mississippi Goddamn by Nina Simone, which was fun to have resounding through the centenary halls in the summertime. The last text, the next text we covered, for those of you that like to read, is by Essex Hemphill. So I'm really concerned about Black visibility. What does it mean? And especially being a performer, how do I fit into that, right? So I wanted to cover texts that were interesting for me, because that's all at the end of the day what I care about. So we covered Essex Hemphill, Family Jewels, the great line, I'm a mean-looking motherfucker, right? He's walking down these streets of Washington, D.C. in the heat, the dead of the AIDS crisis, and no one wants to give him a ride home. And then we move on to NWA. Let's do a semiotic analysis of Fuck the Police. Thank you, Jeannie, for letting me do that. Which, it's really interesting to watch a room full of very liberal white students and a handful of black students, and then my Jesse sitting in the far corner. And no one quite knows what to do with him. We don't know, what is he, right? So Jesse's a tall, 6'4" with the crazy red hair, bespectacled, very pale, very freckled, interesting looking gentleman. He's my drummer. It's really awesome to have him around, especially whenever, and it's just awesome to have him around, period. He's just a great guy. We'll get to that later. So the NWA piece, the semiotic analysis of Fuck the Police by NWA, was Jesse's suggestion. Why did I move forward with that? I think it's incredibly relevant, I think, at this time, but that's neither here nor there. So Jesse and I discussed this over a few drinks at Ivan's, and I was going back and forth in my head. What does it mean, again, coming back to, I'm teaching black poetry, I have 2 days. How do I make this relevant? How do I talk about something that's physical, that's visceral, right? And part of Jesse and I's relationship is 1 part musical, 2 part our living everyday experience. I found out later, Jeannie told me that Jesse had come out as black to his class, and they had no idea. She said, I love those coming out, you know. And Jesse, like I said, I described him earlier, very interesting looking fella. His mother was half black, and so and if you would look at him, you wouldn't know, but you would get an idea that something was going on there. And he and I both share that experience, me being half Filipina, and depending on how my hair looks, I look more black or Filipina, you know. And people don't know what to do with that. There's not a bubble on a state exam to fill in what I am. And so we both have that shared lived experience. We also both love rock and roll. So let's talk about my band, because that's fun, right? So part of Jesse's role as being in the band is he's my timekeeper. So timekeeper over there too, let me know, because I will ramble. I'm at 5 already. Okay, I'll keep moving quickly toward the end here. So part of his job is to watch my ass. If I can't physically move, if I can't move comfortably to something, if the tempo's not right, I can't shake my ass to it, and they need to fix it. And he does. So how we're configured on a stage is I usually stand here, Jesse's behind me watching my ass move around, you know, have my guitarist here and I have my bassist here. So our first show ever at Bears, I was extremely nervous, as I am right now. And I remember walking into the venue, just loads of people that are just welcoming and great, and then we're getting ready, you set up, you tune, and then you're rolling into the song, and one of the first songs we play is called Kingdom Come, and it's you got my hands along the wall, sweating to find a Shangri-La. That song is called Kingdom Come, and it's my retelling of history. It's based on the story of David and Bathsheba. So many of us have heard of that story before. We have King David and Bathsheba. So it's my retelling of it. In my version of that story, Bathsheba knows that she can't deny King David's advances because of his power. Even if she wanted to, she couldn't. And the great line that I think it's great, kingdom coming down, I want it all. So she knows she can't deny him, but in turn, she's going to burn his entire kingdom down and everything that he has. And that's the great thing about being in a rock and roll band, is you can rewrite history and people just go with it. So we're moving toward the end of our set, and we have this song called Trees. I don't mention trees once in the song, as it was pointed out to me earlier this week when I was working with this songwriter. You got this great song, it's called Trees, but you don't mention trees in it. And I was like, yeah, I know. So the song Trees is about a beat. It's about dancing. It's about the physical movement. It's about moving out of this primordial. It's about forgetting about your mortality. It's about sex. It's about rhythm. And I love playing it at the end because I can go dance and play around, and the boys can hold down the beat. And so as we're moving toward this kind of this great rise in the song, and there's this crazy psychedelic freak out going on, and I can grab the microphone, and I can move, and I can dance, and I can shake my tambourine, I can throw it at people. And I decide that I'm gonna rise on this platform. So I get to this platform, and I see the sea of people, and I'm like, okay, let's do this, this is happening. And I do my hands like this, because I speak with my hands, and they all raise their hands, and so I'm very excited, and so I'm like, I think it's time to go crowd surfing. So I lean forward, and all these welcoming hands are there, and we're sharing in this really beautiful experience, and no one's thinking about their mortality, and no one's thinking about their fucking problems, and they carry me on. I think I'm the first person to ever crowd surf at Bears, and I'm damn sure the only girl to crowd surf at Bears with a black dress on. And even in that moment where I'm being extremely vulnerable, my body is in their hands. No one does anything to defile me. They're respectful. And we're all kind of on the same wavelength because at the precise and perfect moment, they place me on the stage so I can get back to the verse that I'm going to sing. And we finish it, and wow, the set's over with, and we're excited. And you know, the part of the thing about being a working class musician is you got to pack up your shit after that. So I'm getting ready to hop back on stage and move my gear, and I feel this white hot ass slapped, resounding through my body. White hot heat gripped on it. And I turn around, and there's this very goofy, half drunk and all stupid, scrawny little white boy standing there. And then my mind goes through 3 phases. The first one is fury. How dare you? How dare you? The second one is confusion. Weren't you there? Weren't you there when we all shared that experience? Weren't you there participating? Weren't you there having a good time? Weren't you there when I gave you my body? And that wasn't enough. And then the third thought that I have is, that's not yours. It's not yours. And so I look at him, and little does he know that there are 3 very angry band members staring at him, and he doesn't know that he's facing sudden death. And I look at them, and they look at me, and I say, back up. And I look at this young boy, not too young, but just, young boy. I sound like I'm 50 now, really. And I look at this young gentleman, and I say, that's not yours, dear. And he said, oh, well, it was just so beautiful, I just had to touch it. And I said, no, you didn't. That's not yours. Well, and I said, no, there's nothing wrong with appreciating a woman's body and appreciating a woman's beauty. But that's not yours. Didn't you learn that in kindergarten? And he just kind of puts his head down, and he said, yes, ma'am. And then walks away. These hips are magic hips. I've known them to put a spell on a man and spin him like a top. Thank you.